A lot of things happened in the last week. I was away, but notable things that happened was the thrashing, Chelsea thrashing by Newcastle for one. Then we had Arsenal beating Lens. That was yesterday. Arsenal beating Lens 6-0. Manchester United imminent exit from Champions League, and Arsenal going above the table, going at number one. So this week was really great for Arsenal fans. They defeated Brentford 1-0. Then they beat Lens 6-0. That was great. And one thing I've learned, a lot of us fans usually think that whatever we see in the field, like we could change instantly. Like if you are given Newcastle, you could just take Newcastle to number one, or if you are given Chelsea with the amount of money that they have, it will just take you 3 weeks with three consecutive wins. But a lot of things usually happened. Like you have to control the players, you have to control the results, you have to play against your opponent, and every opponent usually comes with their own game plan. So there are a lot of things that usually happen, but even though that usually happens, I still think like Pochettino has not had, what do you call it, like really wants to impose himself in the team. Like he wants to really control the team in such a way that he has to make every little changes just to seem like they are in control. Like for instance, in that game, I know somebody like Caicedo was late for training because he was traveling from South America to Stamford to England. But you know that they are your first 11, they are your best players. You just can't. There are those instances when you meet a small team, a small team in that they don't, like we know how we take teams, like when you meet Man City, when you meet Arsenal, when you meet even Newcastle, now Liverpool, like you expect the game to be hard. When you meet teams like Bournemouth, as much as Bournemouth beat Newcastle, when you meet Bournemouth, when you meet teams like Luton, when you meet Nottingham Forest, they'll not be giving you the biggest challenge. With those teams, you can experiment, you can bench people you think that they're tired or they didn't have enough time in training. But when you meet these teams that gives you a hard challenge, you have to put your first 11, whether they are a little tired, whether there's even a chance of injury. Like you have to control your team in such a way, because if you lose a game, like for instance now, like Chelsea has 16 points, West Ham, the next position, has 20 points. For Chelsea to jump even one position, he has to win two games and hope that number nine, West Ham, loses both of the games, which is not very, it's something that doesn't happen easily. So if you have to go to those Champions League position, top four position, you have to make sure that you don't lose on games that you should win, and games that you should even, there's a chance that you lose, you have to minimize that you get a draw. Like for instance, that Newcastle game was a game that Chelsea should not have lost if they wanted to go to top positions, because you winning also means that the position who is above, like Newcastle, will not be getting, will not be increasing the difference between them. So you'll have a chance to go past them in future, which was not the case. I think Pochettino needs to know. I don't know. As I've said, like sometimes we think that we can manage a team, but sometimes see mistakes, how these coaches make mistakes, and you want them to, like, sometimes we think like, okay, just because you got a certificate or you won this game or you won this cup, you are the expert. But sometimes even in field, when you are a fan, you can see somebody going offside and you want to tell them like, wait, why are you going on that side? You should move, or you should take this position, because as a fan on the stands, you can see the whole field. You can note how, like, the mistakes that the other team is making, how to position yourself. And that's usually comes even for a person who comes from the bench. They are usually more equipped or more informed on which positions or which mistakes the other defenders are making. That's why some people, when they come from the bench, they usually score because they have seen the mistakes that the other positions are making. And it's the same way. A coach sometimes is usually egotistic, is usually trying to control the team, and sometimes he misses the point. And I think Pochettino missed the point on Newcastle. And it's the same thing that this Manchester guy is doing, Ten Hag. Sometimes he makes these decisions that you think like a person of that caliber should not be making. Like, some games are just easy. You put your best players, you tell them like, go and dominate this team, and they go and dominate and win. But sometimes you want to control every little aspect of a game. Like, this is football. I don't know why it's so hard. If you have the best players playing the best game, why is it so hard to score, or why is it so hard? Like, sometimes you go into a game, like, because we are the bigger team, we are the best team, the opposing team will just try to defend, then they will try to get us on a counter. So those are the two things that you have to control. You have to find a way to score a low block, and you have a way to prevent a counter. And those are, like, if you have coached for like 9 years, 10 years, those are the things that you have worked out. You have known that there were teams that usually had a low block from minute 1 to minute 90, and there are teams that used to score. Like, you get Man City, even if they face a low block team, they just know that, okay, you put Haaland at 9, you put De Bruyne at, he will just find the crosses that will beat those low block defenders. Even for Arsenal, now you see how Odegaard, how Havertz, how they're playing. Like, they can't be challenged so much with a low block. Like, a low block will not be so hard to beat. And that's what I think people like Pochettino, people like Ten Hag needs to put it into their game. Even, like, what was it, the last game, the Champions League game against Galatasaray. As much as you will say, like, for Manchester United, it was how do you say it? Like, it was a game that they were supposed to win, as they made some mistakes, and you could see like those free kicks. I know a lot of people have been blaming on Nana, saying like he should have saved, even if not two of those free kicks, just the second free kick. But I think set pieces, set pieces at that level, like, sometimes you make set pieces that you should have avoided. Those two set pieces were caused by Bruno, and people are not trying to blame Bruno because Bruno was also instrumental in the goals. But some set pieces you avoid, or if you have to make a set piece, you have to make a set piece far away from around that D area. And I could tell, like, sometimes how Man City defends, when they lose possession, you'll have all these guys that they were doing the offensive. They just come back straight, just running. They don't try to make. They don't try. they don't try to come behind a player. They try to overtake the player and then prevent the player when they are on their sides. That was not the case for Man United. You could see like a person getting the ball and just having a freeway running from the center to their box with nobody trying to come against them. Like you'll have defenders just pushing back, and then you'll have the defensive midfielder who I think was tired. I don't know who was it. I don't know if it was Amrabat or the other guy. He wasn't like, and that was the mistake. Like I could see it from first half, and then you thought like all these other managers have seen it and they want to control it, but I think that they just rage it. They don't want to check on that. They want to control. Sometimes I wonder how these managers usually think, but that just happened. I was away for that last week, and this coming week, as I've told you, Arsenal are on top of the table and they are meeting Wolves. And the second team is Man City, which are meeting Tottenham Hotspurs, which just based on the difficulty level, Arsenal has a chance because as much as Spurs have lost 3 games in a row, I think they'll still be hard for Man City to beat them. And some of the guys are coming out of injury. I think Red was it Sar is coming back. So there's a probability that they will make a better challenge that one they put against Chelsea, Wolves, and Aston Villa. So if if things just happen as you'll expect, you'll find that Arsenal will have, I know Liverpool will win against Fulham. So Arsenal will go 2 points, 2 points above number 2, which you'll expect that will be the case, but I don't know. I think the games that you should look for, you'll have to see how are Liverpool playing against Fulham. As much as people say, oh, this is football, but I think Liverpool will win. Arsenal will win their game. Newcastle versus Man United, it's a huge game, but they're in St. James Park, so you'll think Newcastle will win. Chelsea versus Brighton, that's, I don't know. I don't know how. Sometimes when Chelsea wants to win, they win. But when they want to play, they're just a 50-50 team. You can't really expect them to win or to lose. Then you'll have Man City versus Spurs. I think that may be they're in Etihad. I think Man City will win. But if anything happens, they will probably draw. I may analyze that game only and see how it plays. But then I'm changing this YouTube's name. I think it's high time I rebrand a lately. I changed the name a lately to I personalize the YouTube. Yep, that will be also the next video. Maybe you'll find it in a YouTube with a different name, a different branding. But all in all, subscribe so that we start streaming, watching games, doing live streaming, and such scenarios. Yep.